Good morning, Monday, 20 past 10, been for breakfast, had a bit of a lie-in, got up about 8:15, pretty much reeled in, no action in the night, went for breakfast, came back, now just having a rethink. As I said, no action in the night. We had all 3 rods pretty much on the same spot, quite a large baited area, maybe 3 table tennis tables in terms of the size. So we're just gonna have a lead about. It's 12:30, Monday. We've had a bit of a rethink. All the rods are off the spot now, and we've decided to cast to where fish have been showing, which is entirely sensible to me. I'll show you where the rods are. After having a lead about earlier, we found a clear spot which was 15 wraps or 60 yards in all money, which is going to that bivvy. So it's in line with that bivvy, and it's around about there. That's the right hand rod, and the other 2 rods again, middle rod, left rod, both 60 yards out. Does seem to be clear, so fingers crossed for a bit of action. Just one thing I wanted to sort of talk about was our just general approach. We never fished in France before, this is our first trip. One of the things that seemed to be a theme from videos that we watched on YouTube and stuff was, don't come abroad and just think because you're fishing in massive water, fish outside your comfort zone. You know, don't do that. Fish what you're used to at home. If you're used to fishing small waters, you know, don't come abroad thinking that you can cast 180 yard. That message really sort of stuck with me before we left. So, you know, we're not we don't fish at, you know, at that range at home, so we're fishing a little bit, you know, maybe 60, 70 yards. That's more what we're used to. So that's what we brought with us. No point coming here, spending all this money and doing something that we're just not used to doing. So that's kind of our overarching approach, I guess, a principle of the trip. Try and stay within your comfort zone, because there's big fish in this water, there's big fish in all the waters here, but there's no point doing things I'm not used to. So it's 3 PM in the afternoon, Monday. The lake's kind of switched off. No signs of any fish showing. None of the other 2 anglers have had anything out. Having said that, there's just a right lump that's just shown. You see the bubbles there. That was a big fish. Big mirror. He would run away from a salad, that lad. Don't really want to keep chopping and changing, really conscious of doing that, but no interest on these rigs. Real difference from when we had the stiff hinge rigs out, where we had genuine interest. You know, in spots where, you know, the fish weren't necessarily showing themselves. So I don't want to say that these rigs aren't working, but certainly the stiff hinge rigs looked more productive than the multi-rigs. So as a result, we've tied up 3 new stiff hinge rigs like this. beam section, little chod section there, utilising the corner crimp, which I really do like, I've got to be honest. It really makes it easier to tie shorter sections. So we've tied up 3 of those. Hook baits, gone back to what we had yesterday. So we've got the crave, tiger nut and main lines, milky toffee interest. So I'm probably going to recast after tea with these new rigs out to those favoured hotspots. Maybe I have 3 rods at 3 different ranges perhaps. I suppose the hotspots for a reason, aren't they? That's because they see more of the fish. So I'm going to follow that advice. It's rather than fish kind of over there, which is kind of where we are, certainly with 1 rod, and then out in the middle, we're going to fish towards Oliver's Point, which is where that large tree is in the middle of the shot. So the bay to the right, we're going to have one in there. It's about 110 yards. Another one further down, possibly at 90 yards, and then one to the right, possibly at 80 yards. So the 3 rods we kind of cover in that area. I'd say 1, 2, 3. It's 9:10. Not updated you for a while. We've been busy. That's because we've moved swims. After a lot of to and fro in our thought process, we finally realised that the hot spots on the previous peg were parts of the lake that we just couldn't reach without a bait boat. 140 yards, casting under a tree, it's not our style of fishing. It might be one day, but it isn't today. It certainly isn't this week. So we've moved 1 peg further down, so we're now on 22. This is the expanse of water that we've got open to us. That's the alarm, but I think it's a duck. We saw plenty of fish earlier, some good reason to move in here. We've had another run and unfortunately lost it. There's a bed of thick weed that you can just see to the left of the swim there, and it buried itself in it, and we had a hook pull. So we were quite disheartened by it because that's the 4th fish we've lost and we haven't banked any. So for the final time we've switched rigs and we've gone back to the Johnny Mac rigs. We've got all 3 rods, as I say, fishing Johnny Macs with drop off leads, and we have put the lightest, smallest leads on that we own. So I'd say the 1.5, 2 ounces tops. If I can get smaller, I will do. They do sell leads here, so I'll be looking in the shop tomorrow. I do not want to have the burden of a weight and a fish and a clump of weed, because I ain't going to get it in. Harsh lesson to learn, and even harsher having lost 4 fish, but nonetheless that's where we are. We've got all 3 rods, as I say, fishing Johnny Macs with drop off leads, and we have put the lightest, smallest leads on that we own. So I'd say the 1.5, 2 ounces tops. If I can get smaller, I will do. They do sell leads here, so I'll be looking in the shop. We've put dynamite pop-ups on all 3 rods, so we've got crave pop-ups everywhere. We've had a good response to them. We're going to see how it goes for a day. I'm going to leave the rods there until, well, I'm not sure, but they're not coming in. I'm not replacing them. They've been cast at where fish have shown, so that's what I'm going off. I've not had a lead about, I've not wanted to spook the fish, and I've put no bait out. I might put a handful of boilies on over each spot, but that will be it, and that will be done by the catapult. There'll be no more spodding. We're fishing at reasonably close range. I'm looking at maybe 40-50 yards max. So I don't want to be constantly dropping the spot on the reds if they're still about. We've also had our evening meal. Beautiful again. Pork steaks, chips, peas, Viennette to finish off. Didn't have any dessert, just too full. Massive portions. Food here is simply excellent. So that's where we are. I wish we could show you a fish, but it's not happened yet. Remain really confident that it will do. Just got to keep plugging away. It's 10 PM. No fish. Lake's gone dead really. Not too many signs of anything. The rain's starting to ease off. You see moisture coming off the water. So the water's hotter than the air temperature, so I'm told. Causes that. Quite a strange phenomenon at this time of day. You'd expect to see that in the morning. But there you go. I think we've set our stall out for the next couple of days with these rigs. Maybe change the pop-ups, but just kind of be a little bit more patient, a bit more structured with the fishing. Let's see where that takes us. But it's a shame we've not had the best of weather since tea. Really, it's been a bit wet, a bit miserable. As I say, the lake does seem to have shut down. But I'm going to watch the lake for another 20 minutes or so. Hit the sack, get some kip. Alarm will be on, so early start. And there you go. Speak to you tomorrow. It's 10:30 Tuesday morning. Up at 6:30 AM. There was a few signs, fish topping in our sort of vicinity. We reeled in for breakfast at 8 and put out some bait just to sort of give them a bit of a tempter. Now we're sort of at the mercy of the gulls really. I don't really want to spod because we're fishing reasonably close and I don't want to really unnecessarily spook them. I may have to revert to the spot if the gulls just have me over every time. Have to see how it goes. We've got the left hand rod on a hinge stiff with a very, very, very small lead, the smallest one we've got, and the other two rods are on the Johnny Mac rigs. We'll have to see how it goes. The weather today is overcast, we're expecting lots of rain. It belted it down all night. It rained from tea time last night until, well, breakfast. And it started again. I think we're in for a day of rain, certainly that's what the weather apps say on the phones. So, could be a day under the day shelter with Kindles and iPads. Carrying on watching the water. It's quieting down a bit in the last hour, no real signs of anything. I think one thing that we've kind of realised is our lead collection maybe is not what it should be for this trip. Given the weedy conditions, which we obviously didn't know about, but next time we will anticipate coming on a trip like this. We've not brought enough leads, and in particular we've not brought enough small leads. I don't want to be carrying a 3-ounce lead around with a fish and a load of weed, so neither use of ornament, and I certainly don't need a 3-ounce lead to get me where I'm fishing. So certainly some 1-ounce leads will be added to the collection when we get home. There's Charlie on the opposite peg. You see the marker float and the bait boat going towards it. There's the marker. Obviously identified a clear spot. I imagine we'll see that turn around. There we go. And the trap door's open. There you go. The physics of a bait boat. Some pretty skilled people with them here. As I say, I've never used one, but certainly a time and a place for it. They'll whiz that round. Get it back to base. There she goes. So I just moved on to the second memory card. That was a wise purchase before leaving the UK. So unfortunately I've got plenty more space for more footage of me harping on about fishing. So if you're still with me, and I'm guessing most of you aren't, I'll be here commentating on the rest of the trip. Hopefully being able to show you a few fish. Fingers crossed. One thing worth pointing out is the wind direction's changed visibly. Gone from a southwesterly to a northwesterly. Just a wee bit colder. Obviously affected the fishing. Maybe the fish have moved off onto the new wind. I think we need I think this is going to be set in for the day. I've got to say, it doesn't look great. I'm going to check the weather app in a minute and see what the rest of the week looks like. Good evening. It's 6:20. Back from dinner. Beef stew, mashed potatoes. Job done. We had a productive 30 minutes before tea. We put quite a bit of bait over 3 spots. Spotted it out, I'd say 5-6 spots of cell over each of the 3 spots. We put new pop-ups on each of the 3 rigs, so that's Milky Toffee, the Crave and Tiger Nut, so the 3 that we've been using. We've come back from tea, we've put 2 more spods of boilies again over each spot, and we've recast the rods, so the rods are back out. Whilst we were at tea, the weather picked up and the sun was out and it was quite hot. That's now all gone, so we're back to cloud. Overcast. It's a bit lighter than it was. The sun's visible through the clouds. We were hoping that it would, the warm temperature would stay with us a bit. That's not really turned out to be the case. So that's where we are. Having a chat with people at tea. Nobody's really had anything. Today's been very quiet around all 5 lakes. So testament to the weather conditions, I think. Just taking the water temperature down a bit. So there you go. Rod's back out, and we'll see what happens. We're going to give it till 9. May not cast out again, might leave them as they are. Alternatively, may put brighter pop-ups on for the through the night, with it being a little bit darker, i.e. a loss of light. Thinking that there's one just topped, but nowhere near my rod. But it's nice to see a fish, so that's welcome. As I say, we might change the pop-ups to fluoro, just to react to the lower levels of light through nighttime fishing. We'll have a think about that over the next couple of hours. Plan for the next 20 minutes or so, sit back, watch the water, important, see where things are, if anything shows, and just have a beer. So, speak to you soon. This peg is a great peg. The swim is superb, lots of water, and the hot spots within easy reach. No 140 yard casting, as I've already said. However, it's a confined swim, so if I just slowly tip you up, you can see I haven't got all that much room. So casting right straight in front of me is okay. Likewise, my middle rod, which is obviously out to the left, is okay. But then to the right, it's a little bit awkward, because if you follow that tree down, I'm trying to cast it there, the edge of that tree. So all this is presenting a slight challenge. So it took a number of casts to get right, but getting it right was important. So a nice peg, but a little bit tight with the overhanging branches. To be honest, a lot of them are like this. The peg we were on previously, 23, that was a bit better, had a bit more room, but this is the stuff that you've just got to deal with. Carp, just topped. There are the bubbles. In line with our rig, but I'd say 20 feet past it, so Mr. Carp wouldn't mind moving in a bit, that'd be much appreciated. We had a little bit of mither with the ducks earlier around the rod tips, just being a nuisance really, as they usually can be. I think the solution is just to feed them, get them on the bank and give them, if you've got it, ideally bread. If not, just crumb up, break up, dozen boilies and just fill them up. As soon as they're full, they'll leave you alone. So rather than trying to shoo them away, you know, frightening them with your landing net, just feed them. As I say, we haven't seen them since. If I see them again, I'll just give them a few more boilies. That's all they want. You know, in the grand scheme of things, a dozen boilers or so out of 10 kilos is neither here nor there. Just starting to spit again. Nothing major. We are expecting rain tonight. I think it was forecast a little bit later though. Ducks are back. Annoying me. Give them a bit of bait. Just fill them up. I think when they know it's all gone, they'll bugger off. Feed mum. They generally do what mum does. I think these are what were 2 chicks. You can tell by the beak size. So this one in front, this one here, I think that's mum, and then the 2 daughters. No fellas knocking about. Not really surprised. Bloody idiots. There you go, off they pop. Full stomachs. Very nice. Yeah, they do work. Why don't you use them? Bugger off. There you go, happy ducks. Hopefully stay away from the end of my rod tips for a while. Well, the lake is very quiet, apart from that solitary coot. Very still. The wind's dropped. No real movement. The water's very still. Not lights, not quite what it was. Clouds appear a little bit thicker. Expecting rain at 11. According to the weather app on my phone. It's 9:10 and as you can see it's now raining heavily.